guys? Welcome back to your favorite HVAC and plumbing podcast, Airing It Out, and I'm your host, Robert Maderick. Today, we have a very special guest, first time on the podcast, president of Best Air Conditioning, Jason Henderson. Welcome on the podcast, Jason.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, man.
Yeah, not a problem. So guys, Jason is the beginning, the heart and soul of Best Air Conditioning. Jason, can you tell the people at home a little bit about yourself?
Well, yeah, I got into the industry back in 2003. Started off in the industry as a duct cleaner. I used to work on the Las Vegas Strip, food and beverage, things like that, and wanted to get into a career, so got into HVAC. Got my foot in the door by being a duct cleaner, and then just kind of worked my way through doing installations and maintenance, and then eventually service. And my wife and I started the company from scratch just a little over 5 years ago. And, we were very fortunate, it was successful. We ended up having a lot of really great team members, like yourself and, Dan, the other host, a lot of really great people. And, through good customer service and, really a focus on, our clients and our team, people really ended up liking us as a company. We're the highest rated company in Las Vegas. So, just very fortunate through it all. We're grateful. Yeah.
And me personally, I want to say thank you because you started off as a duct cleaner. For those of you guys who don't know, I started off in the industry as a duct cleaner as well for Mr. Jason Henderson about 10 years ago. And the rest is kind of history, kind of similar story, a little bit different of a path through there, but same starts and kind of now here at Best. So Jason, today, what I wanted to talk about with you is because you used to be an AC technician for many years, and a lot of people think of Las Vegas as, well, you're hot, it's really hot. Now, some people say it's a dry heat. We won't get into that, but a lot of people don't think of Las Vegas as cold, and we hear it every year. I don't use my heat. We're trying to get you set up for your heat checkup. Come on, I don't use my heat. And no one really uses their heat until their heater's out, and everyone uses their heat actually at some point in the year. It seems like there's very few people who don't ever turn them on. So I wanted to talk about the importance of heating maintenance, especially as I think today's like the first cold day. Today is November 3rd is when we're recording this, and it's like 50 degrees outside. So it's like the first cooler day where I could see a bunch of people turning on their heaters and getting a bunch of surprises because they're not turning on. So why is it important to get our heater inspected?
So, of course, you want your system to be able to work efficiently. You don't want it to break down, so you want it to be reliable.
Of course.
Smaller components will typically have an effect on larger components. So say a part that's like $100, might actually be affecting a part that's $700.
Yeah.
And so you never want to have a breakdown because you didn't have that $100 part maintained. And then now you have a major breakdown. But what I think is even more important, just overall, I'm married, I have 4 kids, safety is the most important thing for me, wanting to make sure that, everything is working safely. People always hear about carbon monoxide detectors, and they hear about carbon monoxide issues and in Las Vegas as well as other parts of the country. But that's the biggest thing, to have your system checked over, given a once over, you could prevent some major problems from happening.
Yeah. So, a lot of people I think don't realize is that when we talk about your heater is, in Las Vegas, we're like 95% gas fire furnaces. And so one of the big things is, you said you're married with kids. I'm married and I have a son. So it's one of those things I want mine to run safely. I do want it to be efficient, but also at the same time, I don't want it to pose a safety risk. And so how is like the furnace different than like the air conditioner, like in the sense of like if one broke down, like why is the heater so important on that safety aspect?
So, when I was a technician, clients were always so concerned about their air conditioner because of course if it breaks down, the house is going to be super hot.
Yeah.
And it's definitely hot outside, so you want it to stay cool in the house. But my whole take on it really was, if your air conditioner breaks down, it's going to be extremely inconvenient. It's going to be uncomfortable. But you're more than likely going to be safe. Now, on a gas furnace, you have, a burner assembly, you have flames going through, you have an ignition system, and literally there are gases built up inside of the furnace, and usually they're, usually they're inside of the heat exchanger. Now, these heat exchangers, they're just basically made out of steel, and as air is passing and blowing over this heat exchanger, this steel is kind of expanding and contracting. Right. So over time, or depending, sometimes even A newer system can actually develop a crack inside of that heat exchanger. So even a hairline crack, as air is passing through it, that gas gets picked up. So a small little crack maybe makes you feel a little tired. Maybe, you might have a headache. Maybe you don't sleep very well, different things like that. But everyone just attributes that to the weather change, I haven't been feeling well, haven't been sleeping well. I mean, how often are you not sleeping well at home? It happens, right?
I have a 1.5-year-old son that's I haven't slept well in a year and a half.
Exactly, right? But you attribute that to having a 1.5-year-old. What if, and I'm sure that that's not the case because I think you replaced your system like not long ago, right?
And we just did our safety inspection on it too. So
right. So what if you hadn't had it checked and maybe you had a hairline crack? Now it likely won't kill you, but you definitely don't want to breathe in a poisonous gas like carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
And so like a safety inspection is a very inexpensive thing that just kind of checks the box and says, okay, well, yeah, we're good for the year. For one, you're making sure that, the motors and components are working correctly. You're making sure that things aren't going to break down. You're making sure that everything's clean, so it's efficient. And then especially you're making sure that it's safe. That's the biggest thing. An inexpensive heat tune-up to make sure that everything is working safely goes a long way.
Yeah. I think that's kind of one of the things is with this is, people at home, if you guys are thinking about getting your heater tune-up, it's really, really important you guys do this because like he keeps saying, an air conditioner breaks. Yeah, it's hot. It's inconvenient, but maybe it's too hot to stay in the house, but you can go get a hotel room. If your heater is not working right, it's something that could be dangerous. You not even know it and not even recognize it. It's still operating, still heating your house. You have something like carbon monoxide, which is tasteless and odorless. So you don't know it unless you have a detector. We are working with a flame element. Now, it's very, very rare that we ever see any kind of furnace fires, but they do happen. And it is one of those things we want to make sure it's running safe. Some people use, a lot of our furnaces are up in the attic. And when people store stuff up there and they don't realize that catwalk up there is not for storage, it's for access for us to be able to work on the equipment, and they put it too close to things that get hot. Sometimes these furnace fires aren't due to, maybe the furnace in operation, but you just didn't know and there was no one there to check it and tell you, hey, that shouldn't be there. We see tons of people put decorations in plastic bags and that plastic bag is sitting up against something hot. So furnace inspections are, really, really important. Now, when would be the optimum time for someone to get that done?
Before you turn it on. So, and I guess maybe before it really runs consistently. Okay. Like, for instance, I looked at my thermostat last night. It started to get cold and my heater wasn't on and I noticed that the temperature had dropped down to around 65 degrees. Well, we normally keep it around 70 degrees or so when we sleep. So I had to actually turn the heater on. And we, unfortunately, have not had our safety inspection done yet, but we're going to get it done next week. And that's the thing, I don't want to try to scare anyone. It's not about that. It's more or less like, why not have the peace of mind? Just get it done to make sure. It's not a bad thing. If your tire pressure monitor on your vehicle says it's low, you're probably going to want to put air into it. You're not going to want to drive fast. You're not going to want to brake hard. You're not going to want to do any of those things. But there's no one telling you that there's a potential problem with your heater. And if you knew about that, would you want to run your heater?
Yeah, no.
Right. No. And so it's just worth getting checked out to make sure it's going to run right.
Yeah. And then that's actually, I turned mine on this morning too for the first time. I rolled out of bed and it was like 63 inside my house because we have it on just the air conditioning mode right now. And my wife looked over and she's like, hey, can you turn the heat on? So I bumped it up to 67. So, but even me, I like it cold. This is my wintertime attire. Usually I'm not wearing a jacket, even I kick my heater on. So that's how, when people say they don't run it, it's like everyone kind of does.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, if you guys do have any questions or want to get set up for your guys' annual heating maintenance, give us a call here at the office, 702-899-4263, and we'll be more than happy to get you guys set up. We do checkups 7 days a week, so if you guys aren't available Monday through Friday, we do them on Saturday and Sunday as well to make it as convenient as possible for you guys. So in wrapping this up, thank you very much for coming on, Jason. But we ask everyone who comes on the show a question, the name Airing It Out. Do you know where we get that name?
I've seen the podcast.
You've seen the podcast. Yeah. Okay, so you know what question's coming up next?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. How do you air it out?
Have the fan on and then courtesy flushes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's kind of seems the go-to. So if you guys are having trouble finding out your airing out method, it seems like fart fan, courtesy flushes, you're good to go. Thank you for joining us this week, guys, and we'll see you next week. Keep airing it out, and make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Give us a call now to the end of November to schedule your $49 furnace safety inspection.